Several video clips have been used in this production to help illustrate the message I'm trying to share. I'm in no way claiming these videos to be my own and give full credit to the creator. And all those who've been following and studying with me in the Word of God. Now we come to Revelation chapter 6. Now Revelation chapter 6, it's sort of like a prophecy, you know. Anytime you in the book of Revelation, it means to reveal. It's a prophecy, you know what I'm saying? And as I studied Revelation chapter 6, you know what I'm saying? And I tell you the prophecy of it. Okay, it tells you when it said when the Lamb got hold to the 7 seals and started to open the 7 seals, it showed them the time and place when the prophecy started. Like I said, you talk about the 7 seals, the time and place it started. You know what I'm saying? The 7 seals turns into, sorry about that. It turns into the 4 horsemen. You know, it turns into the 4 horsemen. And as we speak about the 4 horsemen, it tells you about American history. It goes explaining you what each one of the horses is. Tell them to break it all the way down to the 7 seals. Even a child can be able to understand. When I finish, I want even a child can be able to understand it. You know what I'm saying? This is my understanding of Revelation when the Lamb opened up the
And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals. And I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying,
Come and see.
And I saw, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him had a bow. And a crown was given unto him. And he went forth conquering, and to conquer.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters, and all those who've been following with me and standing with me in the Word of God. Today's subject, we're going to talk about the 4 horsemen. This one I did before, but I'm kind of giving you a more better look at it, you know. Because when I finish, I want to so that even a child will be able to understand Revelation. Revelation is a prophecy that put in the Bible, you know, that no one can understand. No one has figured out Revelation. It's a prophecy have put in the Bible, but it's supposed to be figured out at a certain time, you know. And like I said, I'm going to talk to you about the 4 horsemen, and I'm going to explain it to you for even a child can understand. Let's start here. It said, then I seen a white horse. Its rider was given a bow. It said it was given a bow, and he was given a crown. He was given a crown and a bow. In other words, we could be speaking of, I blend everything into American in Revelation, and I got other tape to tell you why. Okay, now he was getting, Americans came over here in the, they said they came over here in the 14 something, but they had established themselves in the 16, in the 1600. But they was given a bow and a crown. And you know America had won their independence. You know what I'm saying? It was 1776 they won their independence. And like I just said, the bow represent the weapon. It can be the gun, it can be anything. It was a weapon they was given. And they was given a crown. The crown means authority. They asked kings, you are the king, you are the ruler. That's what the crown represent. And they said they roll out and conquer. And this is the new world we talking about. They went out to conquer. You know what I'm saying? Then they go.
General George Washington, appointed by Congress to lead the Continental Army, rides to the front lines. He finds his ranks filled with farmers, shopkeepers, and laborers. Not only are they inexperienced and undisciplined, but they also lack heavy guns and gunpowder. Though he is one of the most experienced officers in the colonies, Washington has never commanded a large army. And it's been 16 years since he was last in a battle. Now, he faces one of the most capable armies in the world. The British Army occupies a strong position within Boston. To drive the Redcoats from the city will require a new and audacious plan. The key to the British position is Boston Harbor and the ships that supply the Crown's army. What if their supplies, their lifeline, could be threatened? Washington realizes that if he can occupy Dorchester Heights to the south, he can bring down cannon fire upon the harbor and its shipping. But where to get the guns? Washington orders Colonel Henry Knox to bring 50 artillery pieces from Fort Ticonderoga. In one of the great feats of the war, his men haul the cannon 300 miles over rugged terrain to Boston in just 2 months. Guns are quickly put to use as Washington unleashes 3 nights of bombardment upon the British lines. But it was just a diversion, as the Americans secretly moved to fortify Dorchester Heights. Under cover of darkness, 2,000 men worked to build a massive fort on the high ground. Confronted at dawn by Washington's heavy guns on Dorchester Heights, the exposed British realize they have only one good option: to evacuate.
I'm going to put Grant as the top general of the Civil War, period. Again, considering what I said about Stonewall and Lee and Sherman, that is definitely a high praise, but I truly think it is warranted. Grant was good in defense. He was good on attack. What he was really good at was not that he didn't make mistakes, because he made several mistakes, but Grant was really, really good at retrieving his mistakes, something that many military minds fail at, no matter how good they otherwise were. At Shiloh, take Shiloh, where he was surprised and in fact spent most of the entire first day of the Shiloh campaign having his army driven back, routed, beaten, battered. The finest military commander in the southern armies of the American Civil War, in my opinion. The man who, with a small but somewhat notable exception during the 7 days battles of the Peninsular Campaign, succeeded in every single battle he attempted. He won every battle he was part of. He was Lee's right arm. He was the man who, along with Longstreet, took Lee's overall strategic and tactical views and turned them into reality. He was the man who created the foot cavalry, basically marching more than 600 miles in like 20 or 30 days or something to
Kennedy presented himself as the anti-Eisenhower. And what he said to the nation was, we need a young, vibrant, activist president. And it was the perfect campaign strategy.
John Kennedy is elected in 1960, the dawn of a new decade. There's this great juxtaposition by an older president leaving office and this new, younger, vigorous person succeeding him. And Kennedy, in some ways, was the first president to be a media creation.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
And so he comes into office with this young wife.
The Ku Klux Klan.
The Klan March may have been cut short, but apparently it helped membership.
Other than the Coke bottle, what's more recognizable than the white hood and robe and the flaming cross?
The government was intended to be of the white man, by the white man, and for the white man.
Mongrel class of people.
Interest in the Ku Klux Klan has swelled and then dwindled. The Klan's power always came and went in phases. Until at one point, the tactics used to gather Klan members together ultimately become the hooks used to drag them down.
The oldest Ku Klux Klan organization in the nation may be out of business.
But what's never gone away is the fear the Klan built its legacy on.
Preserve the racist.
Fear that's still...
And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say,
Come and see.
And there went out another horse that was red. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword.
The red horse. Then I looked and I saw the red horse. Its rider was given a sword and told they can go out and they can take peace out of the world. They can go out and kill one another. Now, we speak about the red horse. I'm talking about when they came to the New World, it was the American Indians there, and we call it the red man. You know what I'm saying? The white man came with the weapon of power. That's why we have Thanksgiving and stuff. The Indians try to make peace with them because they seen they was up against a force much greater than themselves. They made peace with them. But the white man, like they said, gave them the two-edged sword. You know what I'm saying? That means, in other words, they give them a promise and break the promise. Give them a promise and break the promise. Through centuries, that what the white man have been doing to the natives.
There were 60 million buffalo. And in 60 years, they were almost totally wiped out down to a few hundred. That's an amazing statistic that happened in this country. 60 years, 60 million buffalo. That's 1 million buffalo a year to be killed. That's what this country did in order to pacify the Plains Indians.
Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull, two of the greatest leaders of the Lakota Nation, were killed. They were politically assassinated. And in my mind and in our people's thinking, it was because they were the two greatest leaders that could pose the most resistance to the taking of our sacred homelands.
Give your whole life for your people. You understand what my great-grandfather, what he lived for and what he died for, and why he wouldn't give up his cause and what he stood for. We lived under a pipe and under the Creator, who created us all in this world, in this universe. And we live in essence to that as a respect and understanding that, we're born, we live, we die, and then we make the journey back to the spirit world.
To some, to me, it is truly where his bones are at. And in a way, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So the actual placement of the bones, I hope we never know. I hope that truly he was moved in the middle of the night years before Mobridge ever came along. That he is buried in a secret place that no one will ever know. That's what I hope.
Our warriors did not pursue. They knew Custer was circling to the north. Crazy Horse raced through the camp, calling 1,000 braves to their ponies with the cry, "Hokkahe! This is a good day to die!" Two Moon recalled, "The shooting was quick, quick. Pop, pop, pop. Very fast. We circled all around it, swirling like water around a stone. We shoot, we ride fast, we shoot again." In 20 minutes, Custer and his men were wiped out. After the battle, the nation split up and moved south, hoping the army would now finally leave them alone. But news of the great defeat reached the east as the whites were celebrating the first 100 years of their country's foundation on our lands. All-out war against the Lakota was declared, and General Sherman proclaimed that all the reservation Lakota were now prisoners of war. A new commission was sent to Fort Robinson, and the He-Sapa were now illegally taken away. Sitting Bull decided to seek refuge in Canada. Crazy Horse moved his camp near the He-Sapa. He said Canada was too cold. At the agency, the army told the chiefs that they should bring Crazy Horse in, or he would make trouble for the Lakota. Red Cloud, now the government's man, set out in search of Crazy Horse, accompanied by a handful of Crazy Horse's old friends and 500 soldiers. Crazy Horse told the weak and old to surrender, and sought out refuge with his old friend Touch the Clouds. But the soldiers found him there and took him to Fort Robinson. It was late afternoon when Crazy Horse arrived at the fort, and he was turned over to Captain James Kennington and one of the agency policemen, Little Big Man. Now, that first vision of his youth returned to him, where the warrior's own people held him back. Jerking him by the arm to the guardhouse, Little Big Man said, "Come along."
The real-life story of Chief Crazy Horse, Native American heroes and leaders. Crazy Horse was born on the Republican River about 1845. He was killed at Fort Robinson, Nebraska in 1877, so that he lived barely 33 years. He was an uncommonly handsome man. While not the equal of Gaul in magnificence or imposing stature, he was physically perfect, an Apollo in symmetry. Furthermore, he was a true type of Indian refinement and grace. He was modest and courteous as Chief Joseph. The difference is that he was a born warrior, while Joseph was not. However, he was a gentle warrior.
Leonard Peltier is a North American Indian extradited from Canada, largely on the basis of fabricated evidence. He was tried in the United States and convicted of the killing of 2 FBI agents in a shootout on a South Dakota reservation 12 years ago. To the American judicial system, Peltier is just a murderer. But big questions remain about FBI tactics during the trial. As a result, a campaign to win Peltier's freedom has involved church and government leaders in many parts of the world. And in the Soviet Union, Leonard Peltier is front-page news, portrayed as an innocent victim of a ruthless political system in the United States.
To the Spirit who dwells in our hearts.
A weekly candlelight service at St. John the Divine Cathedral in New York City. With all the ritual of a high Episcopalian service, the saints' blessings are invoked for what Very Reverend James Morton calls modern-day martyrs.
So that the experience of being in prison is very much a part of the experience of God's people. And so when we think of Leonard in prison, and we think of Nelson Mandela today, 2 men who stand before us as bearing witness, but bearing witness in chains.
Nelson Mandela, jailed in South Africa. Leonard Peltier, doing life in Kansas. It's become a crusade. Free Leonard Peltier. And outside, carved in the stone of a church so large it's second only to St. Peter's in Rome, carved in the very stone, is the face of Leonard Peltier.
Opened the 3rd seal. I heard the 3rd beast say,
"Come and see."
And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say,
A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine.
We're speaking of the black horse now. You're going to be speaking about the black race now. You know what I'm saying? I seen a black horse. It rather was given a pair of scales. Now, you got to understand when they say it was given a pair of scales. You know what I'm saying, man? It's told that a quart of barley make a day weight, a quart of bread make a day weight. But do not damage the olive tree and the vineyard. It spoke on that too, but I'm telling you that about first. But as far as the pair of scales, it's kind of like telling you in America, you know, as far as the black race in America, it's just like for hundreds of years, it's just like we have had no justice. Again, we're speaking of the black race. Now, it's a mystery there. You got to understand what the mystery says, you know what I'm saying? And most Bibles said different things. But I'm going to say it the best way I did, but I remember because I got different Bibles that I remember it said. It said, a quart of barley weighs a day's weight. A quart of wheat weighs a day's bread. But do not damage the olive tree in the vineyard. Some of them said an olive oil in the vine. Some of them said that. But now let me kind of explain you what that means. It's that. Okay. It's speaking of the black race as for justice. It's that. Pay the people for what they worth. That's all they're really saying on there right there. Pay the people for what they worth. You know what I'm saying? Then it said, do not damage the olive oil in the vineyard. Now the olive oil, it speaks about, anytime it speaks about olive oil, it speaks about the prophecy. The prophecy, you know what I'm saying? Like when Noah's Ark waited on the dove to come by, he came with the olive branch. And throughout the Bible, he kind of speaks of the olive, that means the prophecy. It said, do not damage the olive oil. That means do not damage the prophet and do not damage the vine. Most of them said the vine, that means that the generation of them people. Someone come from the generation of them of their people right there. You're gonna bring something to the world. That's all it's saying right there. It said, pay the people for what they worth, but do not destroy the generation, because hope is coming out of that generation. That's all it's speaking there right there.
As one of the most well-known conductors of the Underground Railroad, Harriet Tubman rescued more than 300 slaves over the span of 11 years.
Come on, keep it moving.
Straighten her out. 1 second, move along. Farther up. 148.
Welcome aboard, Captain Newton.
Mr. Davy.
Yes, sir. Your first mate.
One moment, Mr. Davy. Matthias.
Captain Newton, your trunk's already in your cabin.
Thank you, Watson.
Pleasure, sir. Welcome on board the Pegasus.
Was basically about preparing people to be able to read and write, to be able to pass that literacy test that was given. But the Freedom School was about academics. It was about getting people to understand their duties and their rights. It was about getting them to overcome fear. As a part of that, it was more so, as I look at it, about leadership development.
Freedom Schools were a huge success. Thousands of students, both young and old, attended, but the focus remained on voting rights.
We had to be people that anytime the state intervened
and arrested us or did something to us, then prima facie the reason is because they are doing voter registration work.
And through the long, hot Mississippi summer, voter registration continued.
I'm here to mobilize support for the Freedom Democratic Party and to support the tremendous quest for the right to vote on the part of the people of the state of Mississippi in the midst of bombings, murders, and many of the other difficult experiences that the Negro people are facing here along with their allies in the white community.
Just as the violence against blacks had its roots in Reconstruction, so did the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. After the federal troops pulled out and blacks who were Republican were prevented from voting, the Mississippi State Legislature became solidly Democratic.
We're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America. Go where the Uncle Toms are, and you'll find the house Negro. Go where the Negro leaders are, and you'll find the house Negro. And despite the anti-Muslim propaganda, the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad constitute the fastest growing religious group in the entire Western Hemisphere. So don't you be fooled by Kennedy. Don't you be fooled by these Uncle Tom Negro preachers. When the dog attacks you, you get that dog, two-legged dog or four-legged dog.
Do you consider yourself militant?
I consider myself Malcolm. Last year we sat in, what did we get? We crawled in, what did we get? We even marched in, and what did we get? So 1964 threatens to be a very explosive year.
A firebomb was tossed into the home of Malcolm X here in New York City early this morning.
I wanted you to know that my house was bombed.
Are you inferring then that because of this conspiracy, the attempt was made upon your life?
The attempt was made upon my life because I speak my mind and I know too much, and they know that I will speak it whether they like it or not.
When he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say,
"Come and see."
And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth.
I know in this picture right here we show 4 horsemen. You know, it's supposed to be 4 horsemen here, but I only spoke of the 3 horsemen. I only spoke of 3 of the horsemen. The 4th horseman is the green pale colored horse. Now you gotta understand, most Bible which said green pale colored horse, some don't. Throughout the years, people done changed the Bible. Now when they talk about green pale colored horse, that means all 3 races in America, they got together, and now we are being governed upon one government in money, the green pale colored money. But why I didn't put this in the video, because it speaks of different things in the green pale colored horse. That means that's a whole nother subject. And I got a tape on that too, at the speaking of the green pale colored horse. You know what I'm saying? Alright, then I hope you enjoy my subject. If you do enjoy my subject, go to YouTube. Go up under Joe Collins, Revelation, and you'll see my tape. You might see a brown or green little J up there. Just hit the button and you'll see all my videos. Watch my videos, you know what I'm saying? Because I have a lot of prophecy to talk about. I am going to be the one that show everyone the understanding of Revelation. When I finish, even a kid will be able to understand it. Revelation.